Welcome back to the Limitless Health podcast. Today, we're really excited to get into a topic that can be really pivotal to the outcome of your health goals, and that would be our beliefs.
Mhm. Yeah, that's right. What we believe can make or break our day. Like, think about it. How many times have you got up in the morning and thought, this is going to be a really crappy day? And then
Mhm.
what shows up for you? Versus if you get up and think things are going to be amazing. And it can have a lot of impact on our health as well. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Right on. So, we want to start with what are beliefs? What are they? They're basically these mental constructs that we have that we base our experiences around. Are they not?
Yeah, because beliefs can have a really big impact on our health. And it's
Mhm.
something that we often don't even think about, right? Like if you're sick, you go to the doctor or, oh, but where did that belief come from? And how is that working for you? So beliefs can give us a boost, but they can drag us down as well.
For sure. And just the simplest thing as we work with clients or even just talking to people right now, whoever's listening, the simplest belief of when it comes to your health, can you heal? Is that something that's an option for you? Do you believe that? Do you believe that you can actually recover from whatever symptoms you're dealing with?
That's a big one too.
That's a
And
huge one.
we see it with clients in terms also a really big one that's been sneaking up a lot recently is like, oh, well, it's just a normal part of aging.
Hmm.
Or if I'm sick, this was me dealing with MS stuff. Like I said, I thought that if there was something wrong with you, you went to your doctor. And, but I wasn't getting better.
Hmm.
And that's a belief that in North America, in the Western part of the world, that's a belief that many of us have. And it's like, how is that serving you? And if you think about them, beliefs are these like pesky roadblocks that hold us back and can really
Hmm.
get in the way of moving forward with our health and with all of our goals in our life.
It's absolutely true. And it's anything that's connected to our past experiences. Family is a big one as far as how you've grown up and just perhaps the common things that are said around growing up. Like I know you've mentioned the one where it was we were born into the you were born into the wrong family essentially around having a life of riding horses and doing competitions. So that's one aspect where family could come into play with money mindset. As
Mhm.
far as health, how can we pick up on these things and how can we spot these and actually pay attention to change the outcome and change how we think about things?
That's a great question. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen with people is like, okay, so the belief that that's dictating your actions and dictating the thoughts that you have, if you
Mhm.
find that it's not pushing you in the right direction or the direction you want to go, have you questioned that belief? And growing up with the belief that Western medicine is the solution, that your doctor is going to solve all your problems, it was a tough one to let go of for me personally. And that was all I knew. And so when I was going to the doctor, taking the medication and not getting better and having to question that, there was pushback from family. There
Mhm.
was this, you don't question your doctor because they are educated in this and this is the person you have to listen to. But that's ultimately the message is if you are not getting the results you want anywhere in life, this could be health-wise, could be career, relationships, are those beliefs serving you? Is kind of the biggest question to be able to ask yourself, right? And it's tough to look at it and think, is the things that I'm thinking or believing, how is that impacting how I'm showing up in my life?
Mhm. And I suppose as well, what are your goals?
Hmm.
What are the goals that you have around health, specifically for our conversation? And as Kate said, are you doing the things to achieve that goal? Do you believe that goal is even possible? That's a great starting point. So if you didn't even believe the goal is possible, you're gonna do all the things that kind of prove to yourself that I'm not going to reach that. I can't reach that. And then there's that word that people often use is can't.
Hmm.
Like, why can't you? Or why couldn't you switch that to how can I reach this goal? And
Yeah.
this is where our unconscious mind or subconscious, depending on, I kind of use it interchangeably, meaning the same thing. This is how we look. to the unconscious mind, because this is the where all of our resources are and where all of our programming happens. And that's working behind the scenes and causing us to do certain habits, certain patterns. And this is the area we want to look at, because these things are just automatic processes that we just get into. And this is something we have to look at.
Yeah. And for me, so there's a couple interesting points that I want to bring up around the beliefs and what's been modeled to you. What's been modeled to you is an interesting thing to look at as well. And I remember, like I said, I went through a period of my life where I thought, okay, I was diagnosed with MS. The best solutions and the only solutions for me were to be a model patient. So to do everything my doctor said, go to all of the appointments, get all the MRIs, take all of the medication, and then it wasn't helping me, but I thought that was what I needed to do. So
Mhm.
then when I did hear someone else talk about, oh, nutrition is benefiting me or some alternative means, that was like out of my awareness. My awareness was just on medicine is the answer. So raising money for the MS Society, oh, this society is going to come up and with a cure and save me. But it was all focusing on things outside of my control, outside of me,
Mhm.
fixing things. And often we see that with clients too. It's like this belief that you don't have any power, any personal power to be able to help yourself get better. And that unconscious mind is such a tricky part of it because yes, it also can, well, thoughts create feelings, feelings create actions, actions create results, correct?
Sounds correct to me.
Yes. So if you're constantly believing, thinking that this is the way things are, it's going to shape the way you show
Mhm.
up in your life. And it's going to shape the things that are in your awareness. Like I said, it wasn't until somebody said to me, like, this is not the solution for you, that the awareness shifted and recognizing that nutrition was an option, that there were other things became a reality. And so in the unconscious mind, subconscious mind, as Amanda said, can have a really big impact on our life because it's going to shape the way we show up every
Mhm.
day. It's going to shape the actions we take, which ultimately will shape the realities that we get. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, even going back to what you said about how you start your day
Hmm.
and what you say to yourself, that is what we are saying to ourselves actually is programming. It's the suggestions we're giving ourselves. We're pretty much in a hypnosis or a trance all the time.
Yep.
It's our own trance. It could be a problem trance where we're not getting the results we want because we're saying, "Oh, it's going to be a terrible day. I can't reach this or I can't do this." This is all the stuff that you're telling your unconscious mind.
Hmm.
This can't happen. I can't do this. I'm not going to achieve this. It's going to be a terrible day. And that really plays into, as you said, with the thoughts lead to the process you just mentioned that I can't recall at the moment, but that ties into that process, what you're telling yourself, the repeated things you hear. And even as we talked about growing up, what are the repeating phrases that we heard growing up? Oh, we don't have enough money, or we
Hmm.
can't do that because whatever reason. These are the things that are repeated and stick with us and cause us to have those beliefs of, oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, I can't do this because of whatever reason. And it's just a matter of starting to change the internal dialogue, the conversation that you're speaking to yourself. That's a good starting point to creating some of that change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the subconscious, unconscious controls the habits, the things that we do on a daily basis. So how many of the what percentage of the things that we do daily is unconsciously driven,
It's really high. I would probably guess around 95%.
right? So if you're finding that you're not getting the results that you want, how many of those are conscious choices? Where
Mhm.
you're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing even though I know it doesn't help me get healthy. It's the things that happen over and over and over again that create the results that you currently have.
Mhm.
And there's, I mean, that's the unconscious stuff, but there's also the side of things. And when we're talking about health, is that there's labels put on people.
Yes.
And so for me, MS diagnosis, anyone who's been told that they have like learning disability.
Yeah. Could be learning disability or ADHD. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, exactly. And to look at it and just if you adopt that label and just own it, like
Mhm.
I went through a period in my life where I was like, oh, I can't do that because I have MS. Or I've worked with people who are like, oh, I can't do, well, before I had my diabetes, I could do that. And it's like, if you're owning that, if you're holding that, like, how does that feel in your body to say that versus instead of why is this happening to me, why is this happening for me? And looking back, it gave me so much because it forced me to dig deeper and to think about ways that I could help myself get better rather than just handing my power away to someone else.
Mhm.
So, unconscious, yes, is a huge part of it because our habits are 95% of the things we do in a day. How much of a difference is that going to have on you if you can shift those thoughts, those beliefs, and then the actions are going to change and your results are going to change overall as well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really important. Just what you mentioned about the basically the identity part of it.
Hmm.
The I am or I have whatever, say, yeah, I have in your case MS. We really look to that phrasing now, and it's in the past tense. You had.
Hmm.
That's very much my belief around your experience because of the work you've done and how you're experiencing life now versus previous years. It's in the past. And this can be simply equated to anyone who was a smoker in the past.
Yeah.
I am a smoker rather than in the process of I am a ex-smoker. Well, you're still associating with that label. It's the same if anyone, they might get offended by me saying this one specifically, but if you're a cancer warrior or a survivor of cancer, you're still referencing, oh my goodness, referencing the label
Hmm.
rather than saying, I am healthy. I have all the energy in the world that I want. I am feeling amazing without like completely separate yourself away from that label that was perhaps not a good time in your life and brought a lot of difficulty to kind of completely separate yourself. The how you speak and how you put words together is really powerful. So if you can make those tweaks, it will make a very big difference.
Yeah. I have a story around that actually. When I
Oh,
first
please
started
share.
at nutrition school, there was a girl in my class and she came into the classroom and basically that was she was very proud of it, which I mean, it's not an easy thing to go through, but she was like, I'm a cancer survivor. And
Mhm.
that was something that she said over and over and over. And I had this one professor that was just like a in your face kind of, yeah, didn't hold back from whatever he wanted to say. And he was like, you need to stop saying that. Because if you keep associating with that word, that C word, you're welcoming it back into your life. And at the time, I was someone who didn't deal with the MS anymore. And so I would talk about it, and I do talk about it now from the perspective of I want to help others realize that there's so much they can do for themselves
Mhm.
in terms of improving their health. But I don't, yeah, associating yourself with whatever the condition is, if you carry that around forever, it's like, what are the chances of it recurring? What are
Mhm.
the chances of it coming back? And we have talked before about, I think it's Dr. Emoto is his name, and
Yes.
how words alone are energy and
Yes. Everything.
frequency
As we say, everything's frequency.
and how they
Everything's
can have
energy.
such a big impact. Like he did an experiment. We can maybe share the link in the show notes or yeah. And he did an experiment where he spoke to water in cups. And some of them he said, you're beautiful, I love you. And the other ones he said, like, I hate you, you're ugly. And then he froze the water into crystal form, into ice, into crystal form. And the
Mhm.
difference in the shape of the crystals from the water based on the words that were said to it
Mhm.
was huge.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
so it was. And it's just, it's such a beautiful representation of how much of a difference words can have. And how often do you wake up and say, oh, I'm such an idiot? I used to say that all the time. I don't say it as much now, but it's having awareness around these things and just like how you talk to yourself makes such a big impact on your cells, on your body. I
Mhm.
mean, how much
Yeah,
water, what's the percentage we're made of water? A lot.
it's a lot. It's 70s plus. It's around that area.
Yeah. So, what is the impact you're having on yourself if you're focusing on the illness, even if you've done all the things and you've gotten rid of it. Amazing. Like, congratulations for that. Absolutely. However, focus on what you want moving forward,
Mhm.
right? The unconscious mind, if you're repeating the same things over and over, do you not think that's going to change your actions?
Yeah. And even just as the words that you used with the story from school
Hmm.
and being a survivor,
Yeah.
how does that feel in your body when you say, I am a survivor, as opposed to I am thriving? I am thriving in life. I am thriving in health. I am full of vitality. How does that feel versus the other one?
Yeah, it's different,
It's
right?
very different.
I mean, Survivor, I would say personally, Survivor, I feel okay with, but it's that like warrior, MS warrior is a hashtag MS warrior is something that I used
Mhm.
to carry around because I was like, F this, I'm gonna fight this and I'm gonna fight my body. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but your body is doing everything it can to try and help you get better. And
Mhm.
so maybe what is better to focus on is like, how can I support my body?
Work
How
with your
can
body.
help it do what it's trying to do rather than trying to fight it?
Mhm.
Because we talk about this all the time, but your body is always trying to heal itself. And if it's not able to, we need to figure out what's getting in the way or what's missing.
Mhm.
It's that is a very different energy than like the warrior thing. I picture like a sword and shield and just
Yeah.
like F you to my body. How does that feel in your cells and everything?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, whatever your verbiage is, just take a moment and just how does that feel in your body?
Hmm.
Because everyone's going to choose different words around whatever they're going through. Like even between you and I, we're going to choose different language.
Yeah.
What are you using and how does that feel in your body versus something that is perhaps the opposite and maybe a more positive version of what you're using?
Yeah. It should make you feel light and
Mhm.
like okay and give you hope and whatever. So yeah. I mean, now we're talking about words. The purpose was mindset, but it's all connected,
It's all connected. Absolutely.
right? So how do hidden thoughts lead to physical issues?
Again, it's kind of similar to what we were just talking about. It's the energy, the frequency of it. And if you are constantly having a negative energy
Hmm.
within your body, it's going to manifest itself into because we hold on to emotions in our body, in our organs, and that can manifest into health issues.
I had a check-in with a client recently this week as well who has osteoarthritis in her hand, in the palm of her hand. And Amanda tested her to see like what's going on, and emotions
Yeah.
is what came up, which is really interesting. But it's like we can hold emotions, yes, our own as well. And if you're not dealing with it, if you're just shoving it down and storing it, that can show up in areas of the body. You can also hold other people's emotions too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like looking back for myself, I think about the kind of trauma that was going on in my life in terms of family stuff and in terms of other life events leading up to when I was diagnosed with MS. It's like what was going on there
Mm-hmm.
that may have caused that. And it's what can we do to help ourselves move forward in terms of health? I think mindset and like dealing with the shit rather than trying to just shove it back down or
Yeah.
carry it around in a backpack as we've talked about before, but yeah, mindset, beliefs, emotions, all of these things have a much bigger impact on us
Mm-hmm.
than they're given credit for. I mean, you go to your doctor and they're like, "How are you feeling this week? Has anything happened recently in your life? Are there any stresses?" Um, and yeah, it's something that's interesting to take a look at and address.
Going back to how do we change limiting beliefs? One of the one of the easiest ways to do that is just using mindset work like hypnosis, using using this tool to basically connect directly to your unconscious mind and then have that conversation of what do I want instead? What are the goals that I want? And as I said before, with we're all always in a trance and giving ourselves suggestions. This is an intentional way to go in and give yourself the positive suggestions you want. What's the outcome that I want? And what are the beliefs that I want to have as well? working with this process, and you're talking to the source of where these beliefs are, our unconscious or subconscious mind. And hypnosis is, as I said, it's a really easy way to do it. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be
Mhm.
a short amount of time. You can do self hypnosis work, and maybe it's 10 minutes. You can set it up and kind of say to yourself, I want to go into this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends on how long you have available to you. This is something you can do by yourself, or if you want to work with a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, whoever is there for you, you can do that as well. And it's different for everybody. Some people prefer doing the self hypnosis route because it's available at any time. If you're
Mhm.
getting ready to give a speech or something like that, you can just kind of quickly go inside and give yourself all those positive suggestions. But perhaps you want a little more guidance with it, and you want to work with someone who can take you through the process and kind of really get out of the client what is it that you're really looking for, and kind of notice if there's maybe a certain path that they have to take, or just even some questioning around what they currently believe, and what perspective shifts, what reframing needs to happen so you can think differently. Like the way you did about your MS diagnosis initially, you were all about helping and raising money, and then your
Mhm.
friend basically gave you this, I don't know how you would personally describe it, like sucker punch almost. I don't know if
Yep.
that's an accurate description. And that completely changed your outlook on it.
Mhm.
And I'm, as far as being a hypnotist, I'm not going to give you a sucker punch per se, but there's sometimes some people need that to have that change, to
Yeah.
that have that shift in perspective. And yeah, it's once you are able to see things differently, once you're looking at things differently, it's the same as maybe you're outside driving down the street and you notice all the red cars. It's a matter of what are our filters inside our body? What are we programmed in to see? We just got this new car and now we see that same car. It's everywhere. And that's the same with what you want out of life. Are you seeing all the positive things? Or maybe that person who happens to be really negative, and those are a lot
Mhm.
of the things that come out of their mouths because that's what their filters are set up for, to see all the negative stuff as opposed to all the positive things that are out there, which there are many if you're looking for it, and you have to be looking for it, right?
Yeah. And it's true. It's amazing when you do shift those filters because yes, like I said, like in the past, if I had heard about nutrition, I was just like, that's too woo-woo. It was outside of my awareness. And so I wasn't open to it. And it was when I had that sucker punch from the friend, it was just like, wait a minute. Everything I thought was true, everything I believed everything that I was doing was based on the beliefs that I had. And the beliefs that I had was that medicine is going to save me, that there's a knight in shining armor that's coming to help me. And
Mhm.
having that like 1-2 punch, I was just like, holy shit. What if that's not the case? What if, okay, so what if this cure that I've been waiting for isn't coming? I was 29 years old at the time.
How did that
What
make you feel?
Well, I was horrible at first. I was angry and I was upset and I was like, how
Mhm.
could you say that to me? And then it was the comment that just kept playing in my mind over and over. And eventually I was like, you know what? I need to find a way.
Mhm.
There's got to be different options. I need to do something because this is what I've been banking on for all of this time. And what if it's not coming? Then what? Right? I had a lot of life left.
Yeah.
And so the awareness shifted, and that's when different things showed up for me. It's not that they weren't there before, it's that I wasn't open to them before. So this was like 2011. So this was before TikTok,
Yeah.
before you could search things everywhere. And the Dr. Terry Walls, who's someone who was also an MS, had had MS, was in worse situation than I was, and she was getting better and she was using food.
Mhm.
And I was just like, huh, okay, maybe this is something. But if I hadn't had that sucker punch, if I hadn't had that shift in awareness and perspective, I don't know if I ever would have seen it,
Mhm.
right? And so that's what I hope that we can help people realize is that It's not saying you have to completely abandon the things that you're doing and the beliefs that you have, but start to question them a
Hmm.
little bit. Because if
Starting point.
they're, hmm?
It's a starting point.
Exactly. And I mean, if there is suffering in your life, where is it coming from? What are the beliefs that you have that may be creating it, right? Because we look at our circumstance and we think, like, oh, I need to change my circumstance before I can do something differently. But it's like, no, you need to change your beliefs and your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because when those change, the circumstance changes. Because everything, it rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Beliefs, thoughts create emotion, or beliefs, thoughts create emotions, create actions. That creates the new circumstance. You can't do it in reverse.
Yeah.
So,
When you're talking about, I think you said no one's coming to save you, basically.
mhm,
That made me think of Ryan Montes, who's in our world, and he used to be in the military, and in their training, he had mentioned that if you're in the thick of things and something's happening and you're by yourself, that
yeah,
mentality of no one's coming to save you, what are you going to do about it?
hmm,
And it's, I mean, it's not maybe quite as dire as far as, or it could be, depends on the situation.
right?
It could be life and death potentially with whatever's going on with your health. And it's a perfect story as far as our own lives, our own health. When it comes to getting any result, it's what we do. It's what
Hmm.
I do, what you do.
Yeah,
It's what our listeners will do. And as harsh as it is, no one's coming to save you.
yeah,
No one's coming to save you. Only you can do that for yourself.
yeah. Which is the sucker punch, right? But it's also
It
so
is.
empowering when you realize,
Absolutely.
like, oh, there are things I can do
Yes, can
and
do. I love that.
can do,
Can
and it'll make a difference. And I started, so again, 2011, I had like no idea what I was doing
do.
and started making changes to my diet. Is it easy? No. But can you do it? Yes.
For sure.
Right? And you just have to make a choice. Like, I'm going to start doing things that are going to help me get better.
Mhm.
And it's not as dire as if you're in the military and it's like, what if no one comes to save me? But yeah, I think we need to shift that perspective as a society because
Mhm.
it is more dire than we look at it because we get comfortable.
Mhm.
And Amanda, you posted something this morning about comfort and comfort zones.
Oh, yes. 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 If you basically, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but if you stay in your comfort zone, it will kill you.
Yeah. And it's realizing that it's not going to be comfortable to do something a little bit different, but is it worth it?
And that's what I want to highlight for what you just said about your own journey,
Hmm.
because you had that gut punch and then it took a little bit of processing to get to the basically the decision of doing something different.
Yep.
But even beyond that, you had a was it, I guess you were involved with support groups at that point,
Yep.
and you basically had to make an even further choice about
Hmm.
your decision making. And basically, you were on the path mostly alone, which
Hmm.
to go through something that difficult and basically by yourself, the rewards that you got from taking that journey, what was that for you?
When you make a choice to do something different, there's going to be challenges along the way, for sure. There's going to be things that show up that try and tell you, like, no, 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 just do the what thing you're comfortable with. It's easier. But yeah, there are things that show up. And for to do it alone, it was like I was at the point from a health perspective, a little bit of a Ryan situation where I was like, listen, I don't want to, I don't think I'll be able to continue this life if I don't do something different. So there was a dire element to it for me because I was like, I can't keep doing this. This medication that I'm taking, I'm getting sicker. I feel like garbage. I don't feel like I have a life. I was ambitious and I wanted to do things in a career
Mhm.
perspective, and I was missing up on promotion opportunities and missing all kinds of things because I just didn't have the energy and I just didn't, my brain didn't work properly. I had terrible brain fog and just all different things. And so it was like, I need to do something different. And when you
Mhm.
start to do it alone, there may be some time where it does feel alone because my experience with support groups is they were there to support me when I was there to stay sick, just like they were. And when I started doing something different, they were like, "You are not welcome here anymore. You are
Mhm.
not one of us." And it was hard at first. It was like, these are my friends. These are my people. This is my tribe. These are my fellow MS warriors. And
Yeah.
suddenly they're rejecting me. And I had two choices. I could just continue taking the medication and stay in that group, or I could change and go at it alone. And it's not alone forever because you step out and you decide that you want to do something different and you
Mhm.
attract different people. Other people show up for you that in your life that are like, I'm doing this and I
Mhm.
don't care what gets in my way. And I was like, okay, I can rally with these people. And so yeah, I mean, it's knowing that things are not always going to be comfortable and easy. And if they are comfortable and easy, maybe that's something that you should take a look at as well, right?
Well, just on the note of that, if someone's listening to this podcast right now and your message about your journey is resonating for them, you're not alone.
Hmm.
We are here to help anyone who would want to work with us. We are here to support you through your journey. You don't have to be alone at all. And
Absolutely.
that can feel like one of the worst things, to be completely isolated and feel
Hmm.
like you don't belong anywhere. Like there's no one who wants to help you or whatever the case is. But
Yeah.
there are options out there, I promise you. There are a lot more people that we keep talking to. There are a lot more people that keep coming on this podcast, sharing their stories and their journeys. And they've also come from difficult situations, difficult health related issues, and they're doing amazing, like, absolutely amazing. So just know, if you're listening to this and you're going through something right now that's very challenging health wise, you are not alone.
Hmm.
Reach out to us, send us a message. We could set up a free discovery call to talk with you, whatever the needs are. We're just know you're not alone. That's the biggest thing I want to get across right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had multiple conversations with people who are just like, I was recently diagnosed with MS, or I've been dealing with this and it's not going anywhere. I mean, and there's lots of conditions. It doesn't just have to
Mhm.
be multiple sclerosis. That is my personal experience. But
Mhm.
we've worked with lots of people with, well, I've got lots of hormone related stuff too and thyroid related. But whatever you're dealing with, yeah, like it doesn't hurt to have a conversation and
Mhm.
explore different options. It's not saying I will never tell someone to come off their medication, but if how is changing your diet potentially going to help you?
Mhm.
Right? I talked about that a couple weeks ago in a TikTok and just said like nutrition was huge for me. It wasn't the only thing I did, but
Mhm.
it was kind of the got the ball rolling for things.
Yeah,
And
but your mindset, I think, actually was the first
yeah,
starting point for getting things rolling. If we're
probably.
really, yeah, looking in the order of things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, I think nutrition was an initial good part of it too, because it was like within I was like 30 days, I'm going to try changing my diet. And
But you
it was
decided
the,
to do that.
that's
You
true.
were open to that.
That's true.
If you weren't, you wouldn't have even bothered.
Yeah, which is, yeah, very true. But it like solidified it for me when I did my 30-day trial. And for the first time in 7 years, I felt things start to move in the right direction. It didn't
Absolutely.
fix things overnight,
Mhm.
but it was the first time that things moved in the right direction versus, oh,
And you
let's
did
add
it.
another medication. Let's add another medication. I just felt shittier and shittier.
Yeah, and you
Right?
did it for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
You made the decision, you did all the steps to do that, and you got the result that you wanted.
Yeah.
And that
And
validated what you were doing.
mm-hmm, absolutely. And how can you lose doing that,
Mhm.
right? Like the
Yeah.
nutrition thing, so I did a TikTok a little while ago and said how nutrition was a big thing for me. And they were like, oh, nutrition's not a cure though. And I was like, no, you know what? You are absolutely right. Nutrition is not a cure. But for a lot of these health conditions, there isn't a cure.
Mhm.
So how does it hurt you to take a look at your diet and to eat cleaner? To
Mhm.
give your body the things it needs to rebuild properly, to detox properly. Like, how can that hurt you? Right? So rather than looking for, I mean, I did it for a long time, waited for this cure, for this magical unicorn to show up and come save me. And it's like maybe what I need to focus on is what's getting in the way of my body getting better on its own, and,
Hmm.
or what's missing, and start to give the body what it needs. This includes mindset as well,
Absolutely.
right? And focus on, yeah, how can I support my body to get better?
Okay, so we've talked about beliefs.
Everything.
We've talked about a lot of things, but the thoughts that we have that kind of shape into basically the outcome that we have, all the steps
Hmm.
in there, and then kind of becoming aware of what we're saying to ourselves and how that makes us feel. What's the power of the words we're using in our body, frequency wise? What is that doing to us? And this is something, again, we were talking about getting awareness of this and then looking at changing our beliefs, especially the limiting beliefs, the ones that we decide that we can't do something or something is basically out of the realm of possibility. And then also talking about our unconscious minds and how this is the pathway to changing things. This is where all of our learning behavior and results can take place. And tapping into that is very, very powerful. And hypnosis is a great way to actually do that. So,
Yeah, there, I mean, there's lots of other ways too. Like meditation can be beneficial for
mhm.
people. A lot of people, you've been talking about tapping a bit more recently.
Yes. Yeah.
Visualization, like there's lots of, you don't, it doesn't have to be hypnosis, but just looking for ways that you can address your mindset to get it to start to work for you rather
Mhm.
than work against you.
Yeah. Just whatever
And
tools that you can get a hold of to help you change the where you are in the present. If you need to shift your focus, or maybe you're feeling a little anxious and you want that to switch, what are the
Mhm.
positive ways to make that change?
Yeah, and make it simple. It doesn't have to
Simple
be
is
really
key.
complicated for
Yeah.
yourself. So, we hope this conversation encourages you to reflect on your own beliefs and take some actions towards healthier mindset, healthier life, healthier body, right? There are things you can do. It doesn't have to be hard. And if you're ready to dive deeper, make sure you book a free discovery call with us. There's there's nothing to lose, right? Have a conversation. Maybe we can help you figure out what's going on. I mean, we do frequency, haha, again,
Right.
frequency testing to figure out what areas of the body aren't functioning properly, but mindset is a really big part of it too.
Hmm.
And so book a call with us if you're looking for support, if you want to have a conversation about MS or about anything that you're dealing with. And also, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media for more tips and stories.
Hmm. By subscribing, you actually help this reach more people. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of people out there who need to hear this message. They need to get that shift in their lives so they can find that vitality and just an amazing, healthy life that's waiting for them. So please subscribe so we can get this out to more people who need to hear it. All right. I guess that's everything. Thank you, everyone, for listening this week. We hope you found some value in what we shared today. And again, as Kate said, if you have any questions, reach out to us and book that free discovery call. Because as she said, you have nothing to lose but gaining more resources in order to get to a better solution for your health. So thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.